1980 Ford Courier. I got it about 6 weeks ago. It is an automatic. It's got the Ford 2.3. It's the same motor that was in the Pintos and the Mustang 2s, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really a Ford guy, but I really like these trucks. I'm gonna give you a walk around of the truck, kind of walk over what I've been doing to it over the last 6 weeks, and then we're gonna do some ignition stuff. It's getting weak spark. Okay, so this is it, 1980 Ford Courier. Here's the 2.3. It's got a brand new radiator. Previous owner had put that in, new radiator hoses. So I bought this off of Facebook Marketplace from a guy in Vevey, Indiana. He was basically the second owner. He bought it from a friend's widow. So he only owned it for about 3 months, couldn't get it running. The carburetor was a nightmare. It needed a new fuel pump. And the main thing that it needed was the timing had jumped 2 teeth. Luckily, these are non-interference motors, so it took me a little bit to figure all that out, but luckily the gears had marks on them. The harmonic balancer had a mark on it. It took me a while to figure it out. That was kind of the first time I had ever really messed that much with timing. I'd verified timing before, but I'd never fixed timing. But with a little help from the internet, I was able to figure it out. I did the Weber swap. The original carburetor, the Japanese Hitachi whatever carburetor things, is the most complicated carburetor ever, and I don't know if it was just me, because I'm not, not a genius over here. I'm just figuring it out. But I rebuilt the thing, and it was honestly maybe worse. But figured out the timing, did the Weber swap. I deleted all the smog stuff, all the 70s, 80s smog crap that doesn't do anything but make your motor not run worth of crap. Sliced off a piece of this intake, filled it with JB Weld. I JB welded this other exhaust go into your carburetor thing, whatever. And then I realized that I knew how to braze. So I brazed this one back here up with some bolts. So that all seems to be working. It still has a crazy exhaust leak somewhere, but we'll get into that. I made a bracket for the battery, new battery. I'm gonna do a new ground. This ground, it's not, it's homemade, but it looks like I made it, so it's not good. So I bought a new one from the O'Reilly's. I'm gonna do that. I ordered new spark plugs, but they're not in yet. No, sorry, spark plug cables, spark plug wires, whatever you want to call them. I ordered new ones. They're not here yet. It's got a new distributor cap. Previous owner had put the wrong distributor cap. It kind of worked, sort of, but it wasn't the right one. I've also got a new alternator I'm eventually going to put in, just a GM 1-wire. This one works fine, seemingly, but I think that would be a good upgrade to do to the truck. It was this is original paint, but as you can see, there's been some rust in the rockers, mostly just in the rockers, honestly. I did some kind of bad patches, and then I gave it that fake patina, which I think looks pretty sweet. Tailgate is in pretty rough shape. That's been deleted. Mother Nature deleted that. What else? Here's some patches over here. We'll pull the truck out into the light so you can get a better look at it at some point. But cool color, yellow. Put a new old stock seat cover in it. The dash is pretty clean. There is a crack up there where you would, the speakers would be, and it's just a 2-pedal edition. So I got it running and driving. I had to replace a brake line over here. I still need to go through the brakes. They work sort of, but it pulls to the right pretty hard if you're going over 35 or so. I mean, I ain't taking it on the highway anytime soon, but scooting around town right now, everything works. You buy basically a non-running, non-driving truck, and then you get it running and driving. You get really excited. Then you start driving it, and you realize, oh, this thing actually isn't really actually running and driving. It's just sort of pretending sometimes to run and drive. So last Sunday, I was going to take it to a car show and pulled it out of the garage. It actually fired up first try. One pump, bam, started, fired, was going. Cleaned it up a little bit. My wife came out to get in the truck, and it would not fire. I know it's getting fuel. I know it's getting spark, or it was getting spark, obviously, because it just ran 20 minutes beforehand. But it wouldn't fire. So I pulled spark plug number 1, checked the spark, and it had spark, but it wasn't the best spark I've ever seen in my life. But it wasn't the worst either. Then I thought I probably flooded. I probably did flood it. So we let it sit for a while, went and got a coffee, came back, tried to get it to start again, still wouldn't start. Later on that afternoon, it did end up firing. So I checked the coil, the thing with the multimeter, and you'd put it on the ohms, and then you test the primary and the secondary and all of that, and it read correctly. So the coil's good. Distributor cap is good. I mean, it's brand new basically, and I gave it a gander. It works. So I don't know. The battery's getting, this is a brand new battery. I just tested it. It's getting 12.8 right now, so it should have plenty of juice. The positive battery cable. So the starter is all the way down there. Why did they do that? I don't know. I have no idea why you would ever put a starter all the way over down there. But I did wire up a new positive cable to the starter, and that maybe helped. It definitely didn't hurt, because that was a 40-year-old cable. It just sucked because you gotta, if you don't have a lift, you gotta get all the way down there. Obviously, it's not really that hard. It's just way more complicated than it needed to be. Because over there, where starters usually are, it's, there's literally nothing over there. You could probably do it from up here. So today we're gonna replace this negative battery cable, which, that's a pretty simple job. Boom, boom, negative battery cable. And then I'll just solder this chassis ground into the new cable. So we're gonna do that first, and then I'm just gonna try to cold start it and film it and just sort of see what happens. All right. So I'm just gonna reuse this chassis ground. Just dripping and ripping on this chassis ground here. So like I said, it's got this crimper. I don't know. I'm sure it'd be fine. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe crimping is better, and I'm just, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just figuring it out, So I gotta remove this thing, I guess. I guess I could cut it. Well, looks like I'm cut. Go to O'Reilly's, buy a $25 negative ground cable, and then just cut it. So then you don't, so you can make it better. So another thing you should do is remember your heat shrink. Should actually do that. So you guys can see how professional I am at soldering. I'm very professional at soldering, by the way. So I am a tattooer. Been tattooing for 13-ish years, and I've had a few old cars. First old car I ever had was a '66 C10, was black, but it was rattle can black, hillbilly black. And it was way rustier than I knew what to do with. So I drove it around. I did a few things to it. That was kind of how I learned, you know, kind of basic carburetor stuff. I put a new master cylinder in it. I actually rebuilt the brakes all around. That, you know, not the hardest jobs to do, but taught me a lot, you know, just turning wrenches and stuff. That was pretty fun. Basically, it had just gotten to the point where every time I'd walk out to that thing, there would be, you know, a new chunk of the rockers or whatever on the ground, or the door was progressively getting harder and harder to close and open because it was basically, you know, rusting through. So I basically just got scared of the project. And I mean, I was in my early 20s. I think I bought that truck for, I don't know, $2,500 or something. And then I ended up selling it for more than I paid for it, which was, you know, which was good. I wasn't, you know, trying to flip it, but it was nice that even the few $100 I put into it to make it nicer, you know, I didn't lose any money. Then a few years after that, I bought a 66 F100. I'll put pictures of these rigs in the video at some point, but bought that. That was a really nice truck. It wasn't original paint, but somebody did a good job. And you know, it was orange peely and everything, but you know, from 15 feet away, the thing looked like it was worth, you know, 15 grand. It wasn't, but it looked like it. So anyway, had that for a while, and then ended up having a kid, and that was I daily drove that for about a year or so. Same kind of thing. Did some upkeep on it, redid the brakes, etc., etc. All right. So what you needed to do when you solder is you make the wire too hot, so then the heat shrink just gets stuck to the bottom, and then you just use tape anyway.
A great success!
All right. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the video because I'm still figuring this out. But there's this thing, like a mount for this negative battery cable, and it's a nut, you know, through a nut. But when I try to turn this, it just flexes, it just moves, it just wiggles. So I'm gonna have to figure that out real quick. We'll get this mounted up. We'll try to fire this thing up.
One minute, 37 seconds later.
This bolt ain't been removed in 40 years, I'll tell you that. Probably not gonna reuse this. Also, what you want to do from the factory with your ground is you just want to cut it in the middle, you know, and then try to make it ground better to this. That's what you should do. You should cut your ground in the middle so it oxidizes. All right, got some drywall sandpaper. I'm just gonna clean this engine ground up a little bit. It's 100 grit, so you know it's really gonna get in there. All right, so we're tightening that back up. And then, before we do anything else, we might as well, let's just see if she'll fire. All right, guys, so here we go. Should probably move this stuff out of the way because there's so much horsepower in a Ford 2.3 that it's gonna make all this stuff fall down for sure. So anyway, here we go. I haven't tried to start it, so today's Friday. I'm gonna go pick up my kid, my daughter, from school here in a little bit, and I haven't started this thing since Monday, so let's see if she will fire. All right, so you might have noticed earlier, she's got the auxiliary tank here, There's an Edelbrock fuel pump that I got from O'Reilly's at the bottom. I did put a fuel pressure regulator on it, which I also think was in the walkthrough. People said, 3 to 3.5 units of measure, whatever, PSI, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But here we go. Oh, yeah. The door. She closes pretty good, as you can see. What you got to do is you got to reach your hand up, pull up on the door, and then just kind of give it a... Oh, didn't even work. It's hard to do with one hand. All right, two-handed. Pick it up. Yeah. All right, you can probably hear the fuel pump, or maybe you can't. I don't know, but here we go. Try to give her a couple pumps. Okay, so it fired right up. So seemingly should be good. We'll let it warm up for a minute, kind of see what it does. Obviously it runs. Like I said, it hasn't been fired up in, I guess, 4 days. So that seems pretty good, I guess. Sounds pretty good, right? All right. The valve cover on this thing, it leaks. It doesn't leak a lot. Had it for 6 weeks. I haven't changed the oil yet. The guy that I bought it from had receipts for everything. It had an oil change on there. The fuel filter, or the oil filter, looks brand new. So I think he really did change the oil. I will change the oil soon, because when I was trying to get it to run off that old carburetor, I don't really know what was going on. It could have been dumping a bunch of fuel. There were vacuum leaks, etc., etc. So I am going to change the oil soon. The oil filter is probably also in the worst spot of any oil filter ever, so that'll be fun. We'll be filming that. And then the next thing we really need to do to get this thing actually out on the road is steering components. Idler arms, tie rod ends, upper and lower ball joints. I also got, okay, I'll be honest, I don't know the difference between a pitman arm and an idler arm. Maybe somebody can tell me more specifically. I tried to Google it. I know kind of like which, I can look at a part and be like, that is the part, that looks like the thing. Anyway, pitman arm, idler arm, I got bushings and arms and all that for all that stuff. I'll be able to replace them. I don't know the difference. So, I'm just trying to figure it out. You get what I'm saying? You just got to figure it out. All right, so we're gapping plugs. Okay. Okay, so spark plug 3 decided to leave the chat. So I did order new spark plug wires, so I guess I'm gonna have to wait for those to come in. Tried to stick it back on there, but it ain't happening. She's not happy, so we'll be back on it tomorrow. Good afternoon, it's the next day. I'm going to pull this spark plug, and there's an auto salvage used parts place across town. I'm gonna just see if they've got one. O'Reilly said they wouldn't have that set until Tuesday. It is Saturday. All right, welcome back. Went to O'Reilly's. So I was gonna go to there's an auto salvage place here in town that also has kind of a storefront that they just have parts. It's not like a U-Pick, but they have a U-Pick at location too. So they were open on Sundays. I just saw that they were open. I didn't see that they closed at noon, so they were not open. But there's a O'Reilly's. So I get pretty much everything from O'Reilly's. There's one real close to the house, and they're just super nice. guys actually know how to look up the parts well on the system. They're very helpful. Super nice guys over at the O'Reilly's over here. Sponsor me, O'Reilly's, please. But I went to the hub across town. They got a lot more parts there, obviously. They had a spark plug wire that would work. The guy actually went to the back, measured it out. This one has a right angle on it, but like I said, I have a whole kit coming, so this one will work for now. I also picked up a valve cover gasket. It's also got an intake manifold gasket as well, but I'm not going to replace the intake manifold because there's nothing wrong with it, but I will keep the gasket around. All right, so we're actually going to not do any of that. I should have looked, but the diameter of the boot is too thin on these, or on this one rather. I'm thinking about just cutting it and seeing if I can get that to slip on, but I also feel like that's kind of stupid because this was like $12. So I've done a lot of stupid things, so maybe it'll be good and it'll work, but I also have that kit coming in. So I guess what we'll end up doing, I'm not going to cut it. That's dumb. I'm just going to return this. They're probably just not going to have one that's going to work, so I'm going to have to just wait on all of this. So that's really annoying, but that's what happens when you work on old trucks. So I think what we're going to do in the next couple days is just dive into all the steering components. So I'm going to walk you over to where I have all the parts, and we'll go over that. All right, so I've got the idler arm bushings. This is pretty neat. This is like new old stock, it looks like. I mean, maybe not, but the box looks old. Distributed by Beck Arnley World Parts Corporation, Nashville, Tennessee. So here's the idler arm bushings. It came with like, and these are like really nice looking bushings. They feel like they were made old. They don't feel like China. Well, they say they're made in Japan. Little booklet here, how to do it. I got 2 tie rod ends with the bushings, Newcastle nuts. I got a new pitman arm, new bushing, Newcastle nuts. Everything's in there, it looks like. I got the absolute cheapest China shocks for the rear that I've ever seen in my entire life. But they definitely will do way better than the shocks that are in there right now. And then finally, there's some wheel studs that are broken or the threads are jacked up. I don't know, there's like 4 or 5 on the truck. I ordered a set of 10. These are M12 by 1.5. So I don't know if that's correct for the first gen Couriers, but second gen Couriers, Mazda B2200. So if you want to know that, it's M12 by 1.5. All right, it's Sunday, it's Mother's Day. I did a bunch of Mother's Day stuff with my wife.
This is my wife.
My kids are over at their mom's house, and I am heading to a small salvage yard over here to see if they've got a spark plug cable. Well, there's a no-go at the salvage yard. Maybe one day I'll take you guys out here. It's more of an architectural salvage place, but they've got some cool old trucks. They got a Blazer over here. All right, so anyway, they hollered back at me. Thought I might have found something on an old Mercedes, but the boots that mounted to the plugs were quite a bit different, and I don't think they would have worked. So anyway, I'll bring you guys out here one day. There's some pretty cool trucks, cars. All right, well, back home. Try to get back on this Courier in the morning. Good morning. We're switching gears. I still don't have those spark plug wires, so we're not running this truck. So we're gonna install at least an oil pressure gauge this morning, possibly a water temp gauge. I don't really know where to put the water temp gauge in this. I think I figured it out, but we're just gonna try it and figure it out, I guess. Let's figure it out. I got the manual. Yeah, yellow and red. Oil pressure sender near oil filter. Kind of bring you guys in. I'm stuck. So, I don't know if you can see it. Yellow and red. So we're gonna pull this off, get this oil pressure gauge installed. After further inspection, I think I might be able to get the right size wrench up around this. This is obviously too small. So let's find a big one. Alright, so I'm moving this vacuum line that goes to the transmission. I need a little bit more room in here. I'm not really scared of kinking it or anything. It's got a pretty good amount of wiggle on it, but let's see if we can get this oil pressure send off of here so I can get this new one in. All right. Yeah, we're moving now. Definitely fine thread. Yeah, this sucks. And then I got a valve cover gasket coming. And those spark plugs should be here. Spark plug wires should be here tomorrow. So the goal here is to get these gauges in today. Take the valve cover off. Give it a rebuild. So paint it with some spray paint. And then tomorrow, we're gonna finish tidying up the spark plug wires. See if that was part of our problem. These are definitely, the guy I bought this from didn't replace the spark plug wires. So, I think between the positive battery cable, the negative battery cable, new spark plug wires, and re-gapping the plugs. Yeah. Got it out. So, hopefully that kit's got the right thread, but you can see I kind of stripped this out a little bit, but if I absolutely have to stick it back in there, I don't think I'll have a problem. All right, so that's our oil pressure. We got to make sure this kit's got the right adapter in it. I had a old Toyota with a 22R in it, and that thing used some kind of, it was like British thread or something. So I had to order an adapter, but this looks like it might be right. Let's find out. Yep, we're in business. Heck yeah. All right, let me get this kind of halfway rigged up and I'll pull you guys back in. Okay, I forgot these things didn't come with a mounting bracket. Man, it's funny. I was like, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I'm already working on all this stuff. It can't be that much harder to do it while you're doing a YouTube channel. I'll just start a YouTube channel. I got all the parts. I'm ready to go. I'll just start a YouTube channel. This is a lot of work. Trying to move the camera around. Remembering parts. Like, you know, before, if I would have forgot a part, it would have been not a big deal. I just would have went and ran and grabbed a part. But trying to film this and make it semi-entertaining and make it make some kind of sense, all while trying to remember what I'm doing here, man, this is tough. So hopefully I get better at it, and maybe I can sit down with a notebook and plan things out better and make sure I have all the parts and everything. But all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this gauge set up. I'm just gonna use the plastic. The copper is better, I'm sure, but I've ran these with plastic. I think this is the third time. And I don't, this isn't a race car. It's not going to be my daily driver. So, maybe I should use the copper, but I'm trying to do this, cheap. All right, we're going to put a little bit of thread locker on this. Some people probably say to use thread sealer or something. I don't currently have any. And then, you get mixed reviews on that. So we're just going to slap this in the block. I got the gauge. I got the wire, the oil pressure, the hose on the gauge. So we got to go get a bracket and that valve cover gasket here in a little bit. All right, so this is 14 millimeter. So, gonna get this in here, just using a regular old wrench. And then we'll go ahead and either find a hole in the firewall or I'll drill one somewhere. I'm glad this is working though. I'm glad something's going right. I found a good spot to drill into the firewall. Alright, it's a little bit closer to the brake booster than I would have liked. Luckily, that brake booster is made out of metal, so nothing bad happened, but that was kind of dumb. But feeds right through though. I'll bring you around to show you. It'll end up being kind of nice because you're not going to see it as much. Yeah, I don't hate that. So I zip tied that oil pressure gauge kind of ish where I want it. So I'm gonna pull out some of the slack, and I'm gonna cut this. I don't want to get rid of all the slack, obviously, but that seems good. So I'm gonna cut this to length, sort of, and then we're gonna feed it onto there. So I got the pieces in my pocket. Hopefully I don't drop them, because if I drop them I'll never see them again. Make sure I do this right, because one time I did this and I did it wrong and it broke. I had to go buy a new one. So, all right, trying to get you guys in here. I got it all tidied up. I just got to tighten up that nut. We'll be in business. See you guys in a couple minutes. All right. Now, I'd like to pull this valve cover. This heater hose situation, it's like hard mounted. I think it'll just slide out. So I think it'll slide out. I don't think I have to remove the heater hose. I don't want to. Looks like there's enough flex in it that I can just sort of boop, you know, get it up that way. So I got new plugs coming in tomorrow, so I'm just going to pull all these plugs off. I know where number 1 is, so 1432, right? I think, is that right? 1432? Yeah. If not, if I'm wrong, it's in the book, so. But I know where 1 is. Part of me is thinking you should probably mark number 1 in case you forget where number 1 is, but. All right, I happen to have a 10 millimeter socket. So this will definitely be a lot more efficient than having to use a wrench or a, I can't remember what tools are called right now. The thing, ratchet. So let me get this pulled off. Probably gonna have to beat on it. Oh yeah, she's on there. Ugh. I don't want to, well, hold on. I got a rubber hammer somewhere. There we go. What am I stuck on? That hose. There we go. Hey, this looks pretty good. Yeah. Looks pretty dang good. But all the gaskets I've seen on the internet, it's weird. I feel like the part numbers that O'Reilly's, AutoZone, and Advance, and maybe even Napa had were like the wrong part. All right, so I'll let you guys check this out. It looks like cork, maybe some kind of cork gasket material, but I mean, this stuff's not doing anything. This basically didn't have a gasket on it at all. But I'm just peeling that off. It's so, this is, I don't know if this is the original. There's no gasket, is what I'm saying. All right, I got, I don't know, 70%-ish off of this. I'm gonna spray it down with some degreaser. Try to get as much of this crap off as here as I can. It is cork. And man, is it stuck. All right, we're gonna hit it with a wire wheel. All right, like 10 minutes later, I got pretty much all that off of here. There's a couple little spots up in here, but I think it'll seal fine. Also, I was just realizing that maybe I was wrong because I'm just figuring it out, but I'm pretty sure that those valve cover gaskets were correct. The reason that it's a trapezoid is it comes up in here and then it tucks up. So then if you were to think about how that would work, it would have to be wider up here and then kind of slim down. So yeah, I'm wrong. All right, we're gonna give it one more wipe down with brake clean because I don't have any acetone. And then we're gonna let it dry. And then I guess I should just go ahead and prime it. All right, stuffing some painter's tape this hole, and then we're gonna cover up these holes from the backside, and then we'll prime it. Need more painter's tape. This hole doesn't have to be perfect because the little add the oil thing goes in here. I think the last time I did this, I did like 3 coats of primer. All right, we're back from the O'Reilly's. We have the correct valve cover gasket now. I picked up some brake clean and some black paint. They only had 1 bracket, but they're having me another one in here in a couple hours, so I'll pick that up on the way home from work. I got the valve cover primed. Got 2 coats on there. And then I think I'm gonna do, I don't know, black and yellow because the truck's yellow. So something like that. Might put like a stripe on it or something. I don't know. Something cool. Maybe I'll do the fake patina or something. I don't know. Not that worried about that. I'm gonna make sure this valve cover gasket fits. And then I'm gonna mount up that oil pressure gauge and then probably get cleaned up and head to my real job. Grabbed a rag. I'm just gonna wipe off this surface. It's actually pretty clean. Well, yeah, it's pretty clean. No, the outside's dirtier than the inside, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm gonna try to keep all this gunk out of here, obviously, if I can. Look at that. Fits perfect. There's even this little nipple that fits up into this piece of the head. Yeah. So I'm super stoked on that. 30 bucks. Fits perfect. I was wrong, but I figured it out. All right. I think I'm gonna mount this oil pressure right here, or here, and then do water pressure right next to it. Yeah, oil, water, something like that. So what I think I'm gonna do is wait till I get the other one before I permanently mount it. So, yep. It'll be nice to have a real, this has dummy lights, you know, for overheat and low oil pressure, I assume. That part where I disconnected the oil pressure, I'm gonna have to figure that out because obviously the dummy light's gonna come on and say that I have low oil pressure all the time now. So I'll either take the bulb out or something, but I'm not that worried about it right now. I just want to make sure that I don't know what kind of oil pressure this thing gets. I mean, it clearly gets decent oil pressure, but I don't know. So it'll be nice to actually see what kind of oil pressure this old 2.3 gets. All right, I think I found a good spot. My leg's not gonna bump that or anything. And then I'll do the water one right next to it. Okay, I decided while I was doing this, I'm gonna pull off this timing cover. Yeah, I gotta pull off the belt. I mean, I might as well just do it. I'm gonna paint the timing cover. So I did the valve cover black. I think I'm gonna do the timing cover yellow. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it yellow. I think that'll look cool. Black and yellow. Sweet. Got rid of all the Ford blue. Not that I mind Ford blue, but I think this will just be a little bit more, I don't know, mini trucking, I guess. So I got the belt off There's just one belt on this truck. Literally, it's just the fan, the balancer, whatever, crankshaft, pulley, and then the alternator. So a couple 10mm bolts on this timing cover, and then we'll get that cleaned up and painted, and then I'm probably gonna have to go to work. There's one all the way down here in friggin' Florida, so I gotta get this one out. But I got the other two. I forgot when I redid the timing on this thing, the hardest part is getting this friggin' cover off. All right, I got the timing cover off. New valve cover gasket is on. Got the oil pressure sending mechanical unit pressure teller about all mounted up. I got it zip tied all up in there. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's not binding up on anything or rubbing against anything, so I think it'll be totally fine. I got the timing cover primed. I got one coat of black on the valve cover. I'm gonna put another coat of black on that valve cover, and then I'm gonna get cleaned up. I'm gonna head to work. And then I guess we'll finish all this up tomorrow, fire it up, and then I'll be editing this video. Okay guys, the spark plug wire mystery of 2024 still is not solved. So every kit that I've ordered, this boot that goes to the distributor is too skinny or too long. And this distributor cap is kind of tapered and it's wide. So I did a little bit of research, and people were saying usually these wider distributor cap connectors, it's indicative of like a point system. This vehicle is not. This Courier is not points, but I guess it's got like an old-timey kind of points sort of distributor cap. So I went back to O'Reilly's. The store manager over there is ordering me 2 sets. One is actually off like a 74 Courier with the 1.8 in it. And then the other is just like a Chevy, like a 70s, early 70s Chevy small block. So it should have the right boots. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, we're going to try to get this water temperature sensor hooked up. All right, so we're doing the 1/64 of a turn at a time gig here. Pretty boring to watch, but we're getting there. Okay, so that is the temperature sending unit. Coolant is coming out, so I gotta go ahead and drill a hole. Gotta get it all prepped so that I can plug it so we don't lose a bunch of coolant on the floor. I'm gonna grab a pan or something to stick under there for whatever we do lose. Let's go. I'm trying to find a good spot to drill this hole, because it's got to be at least this big. I mean, I'm not really that worried about tearing up the firewall or anything. I'm just trying to find a good spot that makes sense. I can tuck everything out of the way, make it not look gross, etc., etc. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna run it through the hole where the steering column goes through. She's coming out right there. And then it's going down and down there. You can't see it. It's okay. All right, here goes nothing. I got an oil pan down there. See what we'll lose. Shouldn't lose too much, but whatever. We'll just top her off. I'm gonna get you guys in here. Check this out. As you can see, I I did a really good job of putting that pan in the right spot. Great. All right, I'm trying not to torque this to Florida, but I also obviously want to make sure it's tight. But I'm doing the 16th of a turn shuffle here again, but I think we're getting close.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
All right, so I guess I got it tight enough. If it leaks, we'll deal with that when I'll be able to see if it's leaking when the motor's running. I am gonna have to put a little bit more coolant in this, so what I'll probably do is just top it off when it's running. All right, so first things first, I painted this yellow, but I left a little bit of red oxide primer on the top. I figured that might look kind of neat. If you think it looks stupid, I'm sorry. So I gotta finagle this thing back in here and scratch it, because I put brand new paint on it. All right, got some Permatex Ultra Red Gasket Maker High Temp 81630. I don't know if this is the right gasket stuff, but it's gonna be better than it was. So I'm gonna get gasket maker on my fingers for a week, and I'm just gonna fill up these little grooves. I couldn't get all the old cork out of there, but she'll ride or she won't. All right, here we go. Got my little 1/4 inch socket with the extension. I'm not gonna worry about torque spec, but I'm not really gonna be able to torque them too much with this, so I'm not that worried about it. If it leaks, I will worry about that later. I'm gonna do kind of a sort of a star pattern kind of a thing, I guess. Kind of alternate sides, go back and forth, All right, so I'm gonna run to O'Reilly's. She's looking pretty good though. I got a set of spark plugs that are gonna work. So these are for the Ford Courier, the first gens with the 1.8, but the boots are big enough. These are right angle, but I don't really care. So we're gonna get these on. I'm gonna make sure it's 1432 in the manual real quick, and we're gonna see if this thing busts off. It's 1342. Hopefully you can see that. So there we go. I'm just gonna slap these on real quick. All right, got it all laced up. I'm gonna check the firing order. So we got one. Make sure all these are seated. that's gonna be it for this week. I noticed that coolant was looking real milky.